Hey Steph, welcome along to the debrief this evening. Congratulations on what you've achieved across a range of ultra events in the last, it's only a matter of weeks. I can't even say a couple of months, can I?
Yeah, no, you
Um,
can't, unfortunately. Yeah,
and
seven
also,
weeks it was.
yeah,
Mm.
also thanks for letting me record this and put it up on my website as well as YouTube. Now, we've got three events to cover off. We've got Tarawera 100, and that was absolutely disgusting weather conditions. We've then got the Paparoa, which I don't know if you call it absolutely disgusting weather, but it wasn't as amazing as it could have been, but it wasn't as
Yes,
bad as Tarawera. And
yes,
then finishing off with the Wild West Backyard Ultra
yeah, yeah, which
and
was yeah, pretty good weather-wise
for most of it.
for most of it.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
let,
Everything's
let's,
relative to Tarawera.
yeah, and everything's amazing compared to that.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
So, um, let's talk about Tarawera first. I'm sure we'll bring in and discuss the other events as we go, but then we'll reframe and refocus and cover off things in between. So let's talk about your pre-race preparation leading up to Tarawera. How did your training go in the lead up to the event?
Not too bad. I was doing some reasonably big Ks, although I wouldn't describe them as perhaps being the most efficient use of my time. Um, I was sort of doing maybe between 80 and 100K per week. Um, and it probably wasn't as targeted as I could have been in terms of doing like hills or speed work. It was, um, yeah, probably just too much, too much just plodding along, not enough targeted efforts. But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely got the distance, which from like my mindset was quite good because I knew that I had it in me to, go that distance, and all I had to do was run what I'd run in a week. Um, so yeah, no, the preparation was pretty good. I was injury free, which was a bit of a miracle, or you know, maybe not injury free is not the best way of saying it, but not as injured as I normally am.
There were some niggles
So
that didn't get worse.
niggles. Yeah, that's right. My Achilles tightness, slightly sore knee, um, but otherwise not too bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything you did that you'd think, oh, I'll do that differently next time?
Um, yes. I'd use you. Like, obviously I was using this other
And just,
book thing that I have. So can you cut the video?
yeah.
Well, not sorry, not cut the video, but can you?
No, no.
No.
It, so the fact is that you came on board for a specific reason close to your event to
Yes.
um, make sure that you're optimized for the event, make sure that you recovered well from Tarawera leading into
Yeah.
Paparoa, and then
Yeah.
leading into the Backyard Ultra. So you had a
Yeah.
good build up by following the plan from the book, and
Yeah.
I can take no credit for that. But and it's not this is not about taking credit either. It's about
Mm,
working through what went
mm,
well for you and
mm,
what changes would make going forward. And so
mm,
if that's one of your changes going forward is to come on board again earlier, and you're like a number of my athletes, you work with me for a defined period of time, then you take a break,
mm,
you do your own training. It's I'll call it unstructured because I'm not planning it, and then you come
mm,
back in with a
mm,
specific focus. And
mm,
admittedly, it wasn't for the full build up leading up to Tarawera, and it was quite late in the piece.
mm.
And
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
nothing
No,
wrong with that.
I was
It's a
uh,
it's a
uh, following
good
that
use of
book.
resources.
Yeah, following the book. Yeah, it was very time consuming. Um, and I certainly didn't get the same results as like when I'd done Old Ghosts with you. There was much less, uh, more targeted training, and I got better results.
Yeah,
Um,
and
So
That's
yeah.
always going to be the difference between a generic plan and something structured for you.
Mm,
So,
mm, yeah. And I knew obviously that having entered these back-to-back events, I hadn't had any experience with that before. Um, so reaching out was a really good thing for the other two events.
yeah, perfect. Um, Now, thinking about the build up in the days before Tarawera, how was your
Mm,
nutrition and hydration leading into the event?
yeah,
Because
yep,
you
really
traveled
good.
up, how
Yes.
many days out did you travel
I
up?
traveled up on the Thursday. Yeah, on the sorry, on the Friday, so the day before the event. So we got an early flight in the morning, flew up to Auckland, got a rental vehicle, went down, checked in, and then we left on the Sunday after the event as well. So we would definitely change and spend more time there prior to the event. Um, yeah, definitely do that. But the nutrition and my eating and drinking was really good leading up to that, and so was my sleep as well. I was really making a conscious effort of making sure that I was in a good spot leading into the race.
Perfect. And you've literally taken the words out of me for the next question, so we'll move on and replace sleep with stress. Any
Mm.
stress and anxiety leading up to the event? I imagine the weather forecast would have contributed some of that.
Yes, it did. And getting an emergency thing on your phone the night before an event isn't ideal, from the civil defence alert saying how bad the weather was going to be. I guess having, lived on the coast previously and trained in some not so good weather, um, mindset wise, I wasn't too bad actually. I was quite happy reflecting on it, how I sort of coped with that leading into the race. Um, yeah, so no, I was pretty happy with how it all went, and I used your techniques from previous old ghost of just visualizing like how I wanted the race to go, where I would put in my efforts on the course, and I'd thought a lot about where I was going to have my drop bag, where I wanted to be at various checkpoints along the way. So yeah, I mentally I went into it quite prepared, I thought.
Yep. How well did you stick to that plan?
I stuck to it pretty well until the mud, and then everything for everybody, I think, went out the window. Um, it was difficult to run. And when you could run, you couldn't run far between mud patches. Um, and then, yeah, the rain just got heavier throughout the day. And you know, people were going down hills, grabbing onto plants and things to not fall over. So really it was just making the best of the areas that you could make the best in. Yeah. The first sort of 42K was pretty good. Um, before I went into the day, I was hoping for around 15 hours. And the reason I had chosen 15 hours because I'd done a previous backyard ultra in Christchurch. Um, I had run 100K for that and I'd done 15 loops. So I thought if I could on average, maintain a sort of 7K an hour pace, I would hit my 15 hours. And I was ahead of schedule, yeah, up until about the 49K mark when the mud got a bit too serious and then, yeah, slowed down a lot from there. But I was very happy with the sections that I could run in. Mm.
Nice. And once again, it's almost like you're pre-reading my notes that I haven't sent you.
Yeah.
The next question was going to be, are there any unexpected challenges and how did you handle them? The mud pits are probably a good example of that. how you
Yeah.
managed them. In summary, you got around them as best you could and then ran when you could. But were there
Yeah.
any other unexpected challenges that sprang up during the event?
I ended up getting a sore knee at one point, and I just took it a bit easy through that section. I ended up taking some ibuprofen, um, and yeah, just sort of worked through that until the ibuprofen kind of kicked in, and then I was okay again. Um, but yeah, just challenges mentally, right? Because it's cold, it's wet, um, and you've just got to sometimes just adjust. Like I felt, as I said, I felt good going into it, knowing that it was going to be wet, but I probably, you know, I think I adapted quite well to how wet it became and how muddy it became. I thought mud was mud, but then there's so many different types of mud that eventuated on the course. So I sort of adapted throughout the run in the last, 50K, knowing the type of mud and how I could move through that particular type of mud at that time. So yeah, that that was probably an area that I was quite happy with as well, adjusting to.
Yeah. Now, what part of the race felt the strongest? Now, that doesn't need to be the part you were moving fastest, because most people
Mm,
are aware with an ultra marathon, you're freshest at the start of the race and you're
mm,
most fatigued at the end of the race. But that
mm.
doesn't necessarily mean that you were strongest, because there's a combination of both physical and mental strength that come into play there. Where do you feel
Yeah,
you were the strongest during the event?
I would say, yeah, not definitely not an area where I was going the fastest, but probably between the sort of 80 and maybe 90K mark. I'd sort of been through a bit of a patch where I was moving slowly. I knew it was still going to take me quite some time to get to the end. I was sort of at this point maybe moving about 5K an hour walking, but still walking, able to walk, faster than other people. So I was still getting that kind of encouragement that wasn't the only one out there. Um, yeah, so probably around between the 80 and 90, and I was like, yeah, I've got this. I'm going to get to the finish line. That was probably where I felt the strongest. Yeah.
Nice. What section of the event felt the toughest for you?
Um, Probably maybe like 55 through to 80 when, I realized that the mud was going to last a long time, and I knew the speed that I was going, and I knew that I still had, a good 6 or 7 hours to go at that pace. That was
Yeah.
definitely, yeah, something that took took a little bit to get my head around, but once I got there, it was okay. Yeah.
And that was getting into the hours of darkness at that point as well.
Yeah, I finished just before midnight, I think it was. So yeah, it would have been 7 hours before that, so sort of 5 till 7-ish. Yeah. Yeah, I was getting on.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um, your nutrition and hydration strategy, were they effective in
Mm.
Tarawera?
Mm. I probably made a bit of a faux pas of not having trained with the hydration that they provided, that brand. Um, so I started off with the brand that I'm used to using. That was fine. It didn't have any effects on my stomach at all. It was just not as sort of tasty and not as, I don't know, you just perhaps don't want to drink as much because it doesn't taste as like what you used to. But I was really good with my hydration. Actually, I think there was
Nice.
eight aid stations, and I got a liter at every single one. I didn't pass any without getting electrolytes and then having some water at the actual aid station itself. Um, And I learned a lot as well from my first Old Ghost. I ate a lot on my first Old Ghost, thinking that I overfueled on my first Old Ghost, thinking that I needed it to get me to the finish line. But I think just learning through these other longer events that I've done, just figured out that I don't actually need as much. I was still eating watermelon, oranges, apples, real food. I'm not so good with gels and whatnot, but so I was getting good real food in between, having the electrolytes between aid stations. So yeah, I was quite happy with how that went, and I probably had half as much as I would did that very first year of Old Ghost, and still felt absolutely fine. So yeah, I was quite
Yeah,
pleased with how that all went. Mm.
that's brilliant. And I'm a big proponent of the longer an event is, the the higher proportion of real food to
Mm.
I'll say commercial race products in
Mm.
terms of gels and electrolyte drinks and stuff. So
Yeah, yeah. I really struggle to eat, bars and sort of more drier kind of thing. So the fruit was excellent. And there was things on the course. There was like hot soup and noodles and things like that
yeah,
just, yeah, kept you sort of fired up. Yeah.
nice. Now thinking about your mental performance and with
Mm.
the event being in tough weather conditions, and I think it was one of the years where they've had the highest number of DNFs from competitors. How did you
Yes.
manage your mindset and focus during the race?
Yeah, really, really well, I think. I just knew that I needed to put one foot in front of the other, and I'd get there eventually. And having that, like breaking it down into the sort of backyard ultra kind of distance, I think really helped me. Those small little chunky goals, achievable ones, you know, totally realistic. Well, if there was no mud, but yeah, they that was definitely a good way to break it down, I thought. Because 15 little loops doesn't seem too bad.
Yep.
And even when I was, even when I was at the 62K mark or whatever it was, I was still just thinking about those 7K lots, and it just seemed so achievable running 7K. So you
Yep.
didn't
Nice.
really think about the big picture. Yeah. Yeah. So no, mentally I was really pleased with how it all went. Mm.
Awesome. And were there any negative thoughts creep in at any point? How did you overcome them if they did?
Negative thoughts. Not not really. Nothing that I haven't already kind of mentioned. I think I think I didn't get cold at all. Like a lot of people got cold. Um, so I think that I was quite good at positive about that. There was sort of music at the aid stations and things, so I was like trying to hype myself up, and so I didn't really give myself a chance for a negative thought to kind of creep in. I just
Yep.
was, it was pouring. It was just pouring, and I was just running along, walking along, and I just make a note to myself to just smile and have a good time. And I did the
Yep.
same on, at the Hokey Backyard Ultra as well. It was not entirely pleasant at some points of the night when it was raining, and I just remember running along the stop bank and just and just smiling to myself, just I'm so lucky to be able to move and do this. So yeah.
Nice. And that pretty much covers off the next question. What kept you motivated during those tough moments? And that smile, I think,
Mm,
is probably
yeah.
a good reflection on that. So looking
Yeah.
at Tarawera as an overall picture now, what went well overall for you?
My mental strength, I think. Yeah, that was my biggest takeaway from it of, oh, actually I can handle this kind of, yeah, I can handle this stuff. It doesn't matter what is thrown at me. I've got it. And I sort of feel like any any event that I would do going forward where conditions are like that, I feel like I'm all over it now. I don't see how those conditions like that could or anything better than that is obviously a win. But yeah, I just feel like it doesn't matter if the course was to throw that kind of thing at me again. I've got it handled, got it covered. Yeah.
Nice. What would you change or improve, either specifically for Tarawera if you're going back there
Mm.
in the future, or maybe it's something you employed during Paparoa or Wild West backyard?
Mm. For Tarawera, I would probably maybe do another drop bag somewhere along the line. That was probably like I mentioned that I didn't get cold, but I think if I had got cold, I might have been in a bit of trouble not having a second drop bag because I had one at I think it was about 60K mark. Um, so yeah, that was a bit of a lesson. Um, yeah.
So where would you have the next one at the aid station? 80 something
I'd
Ks.
probably have it at Blue Lake, which is maybe with like 20K to go.
Yep.
Um, yeah, it was very dark. It was very wet by then. And yeah, if I'd had a little bit of cold creeping in, I wouldn't have had the appropriate layers available at that point. So that was probably the thing that I would change. Mm.
Nice. So that was Tarawera 100, 102
Mm.
Ks all up. And then moving forward, what is it, 6 weeks to Paparoa.
Mm. Yes.
Let's talk about Paparoa now. How did the
Yep.
training go in that short space of time? Obviously, there wasn't much time to train, and recovery is a key aspect. How did
Mm.
that training go for you?
I underestimated how long it was going to take me to get over the tiredness of that I had from Tarawera. Um, Training was very light and
Intentionally light
um,
as well.
what's that? Intentionally light, did you say?
Intentionally light as well.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. And I did what my body, my mind was there. My mind was thinking, I need to train, but my body just didn't have any energy or um, there was no speed in it. My in between, after I finished Tarawera, my knee blew up and my right leg, got quite swollen. And I ended up I needed to end up having an ultrasound to find out if I had like a blood clot in my leg because I wasn't draining any fluid. So that was a couple of weeks there after Tarawera, and then yeah, the energy was I was just a bit down on it really. But yeah, but good in the mind, but yeah, just didn't have that capability really. So it was yeah really good that it was light, but I wasn't worried about the fact that I wasn't you know was going into it because I felt after Tarawera that I hadn't lost the mental side of it. Um, and physically, I knew that maybe I wasn't going to be at my best, but I knew I could get through it. And if I had to walk up a hill, I had to walk up a hill or just do what I needed to do to get through it. Yeah. And I also wanted to make sure as well that I wasn't going to cook myself for the following weekend as well at the backyard. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's focus on the last couple of weeks leading into Paparoa.
Mm.
How was um, what worked well from those last couple of weeks?
Hydration, sleep. Um, yeah, lots of rest, lots of early bedtimes. Yeah, continuing with the good food. Um, I was, I think my longest run, if I can remember correctly, was about 12K or something like that. And then with some faster, like I did a few park runs and things chucked in there. So, um, yeah, sorry, I can't actually remember your question.
That's right.
Yeah.
So looking at Paparoa, what was your race
Mm.
plan for that event? Because obviously you weren't going all out because the following weekend you had some had the backyard ultra.
Yes. Yeah. So, when we had our chat, about where my priorities sat and what I wanted to achieve, I'd said, my preference was on making sure that I didn't destroy myself for the backyard ultra. Um, but initially I'd said that one of my goals was that I wanted to run all the way to Cess Clark. With the way my leg ended up being, I probably only ran 40% of the way up the hill. But I also knew that I didn't want to go too fast on the downhill because I didn't want to, affect my quads too much.
And for those
Um,
unfamiliar with the topography, Cess Clark is basically you've got a little climb, then a little bit of a drop, and then it's just a constant grinding climb all the way
mm,
up, and even a bit past Cess Clark Hut
yeah,
before it sort of balances out, and you get the undulations along the tops, a little bit of climbing, a lot of downhill, and then you start
yeah,
the major downhill. So it's a yeah, it's a tough grinding section that you wanted to
mm,
run the whole way.
yeah. No, I'm pleased. I'm pleased with how I ended up approaching that one. It wasn't what I had originally wanted when I signed up. Um, but I did what I felt that I had to do to get me through the following weekend. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely, and moderating the plan and adjusting it on the fly is sometimes essential to do. Um, it might have been if after Tarawera your knee hadn't blown up and you were able to have the perfect 6 weeks through, it might have been a
Mm,
different story. But we live in the real world. No one has the perfect bridge from one event to the next. So modulating and adapting that plan became
mm.
essential by the sounds of it.
Yeah, yeah. No, it was good. And, there was parts of the run where I was able to sort of let loose a bit more and sort of relax into it. And I was really pleased with sort of how I went along the tops, given the conditions. Not muddy like Tarawera, but definitely cold and yeah, and wet. And windy along the tops where it was a bit more exposed. So yeah, no, I was pretty happy with how I went along the tops. And then the downhill was I just went a bit calmer on the downhill. And the hardest part was the last 3K. I was yeah, walking by then. So I had some good people around me for the last sort of 10K. We were all working in a bit of a bunch, which was nice. But then, yeah, the sort of last 3K, I sort of fell off the back of them, and then walked it home. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. How was your nutrition on the day?
Um, it's quite a different race actually to Tarawera. Tarawera has the aid stations are like buffets, aren't they? So, whereas sorry, the Paparoa, the aid stations, the three aid stations weren't as supported, bit more remote to get to. So I carried more of my own things with that race. So I still had a good amount of electrolyte. The electrolyte that they had on course was the one that I used, so that was good. Um, and then I had more bars and things that I not as many apples or oranges or whole foods like I would my preference would be, just because I was carrying more of it. I'm a bit of a fan of chicken on the course. So I carry my own chicken. And that was good. But yeah, definitely I would have preferred more whole foods than what I was having. Yeah.
Yep. What unexpected challenges popped up during Paparoa?
Unexpected challenges. Um, it was probably the coldest I've been on an event before. It, I was wet before it started because we caught the bus to the Smoke Hoe car park and then we had to stand around for a little bit. It wasn't too bad actually, but it was raining at the start. I had a thermal on. Yeah, got a bit wetter than I probably would have liked at the start. And I don't normally run with a thermal on, but I actually had my thermal on right up until maybe 10K to go. So definitely wasn't as warm as I would have liked. Yeah.
And you are running through a subalpine environment that often has snow during the winter. So, uh,
Mm,
and as you mentioned earlier, it's exposed up there, and that wind coming straight in off the Tasman Sea at over 1,000 meters altitude, it bites.
mm. Yeah, no, I just didn't really warm up as much as I typically do. So I need to actually think about that a bit more, I think, and yeah, assess why that was.
Yeah. Well, to case in point, just one ridgeline over, one of the old mines there is known as Siberia because of
Right.
how inhospitable it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, yeah, you're at an altitude. You're not normally running at that 1,000 meters elevation, and
Mm.
you've got different elements from Sunny Nelson where you do the bulk of your training. So,
Yes. Yeah. True. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
and understandable that you're a little bit colder than normal based on
Mm.
A, the altitude, the weather conditions on the day. Like on a brilliant day, it's brilliant up there, but
Yeah.
um, the event didn't provide that brilliant day and you were prepared for it. As they say, there's no such thing as bad weather, just poor clothing choices. And
Yes.
I'm not going to say you had poor chosen clothing choices. It would have been poor if you'd chosen to take the polyprop, the thermal layer off,
Mm.
which is
Mm.
what gives you more comfort with the running, but keeping warm was the right choice.
Mm. Yeah. 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 Absolutely.
Now, how did your body feel during the race in terms of energy levels, muscle fatigue, etc.?
I definitely started to notice the downhill coming down from the last hut for sure, because it does get quite it's a long downhill, isn't it? It's probably from
It
that
just doesn't
hut, I'm
stop going
thinking
down.
maybe it's like at least 8K of downhill before the 8K of flat at the end. Um on top of the downhill that you've done already to get to the hut. So I think, yeah, my legs, my quads were really starting to tire out, not be as strong, just a bit fatigued. And that was definitely evident, in the days following the race as well. They were the sorest part of my body. So yeah, yeah.
And with that downhill, the quads go through a lot of what's known as eccentric loading. Um, and that's where, despite the muscle contracting, it's actually lengthening and getting
Mm,
longer whilst trying to hold a contraction, but allowing that contraction to sort of slip apart to control that descent. So that's
mm,
what beats the legs up a lot more than anything else with the downhill.
mm,
And that event is a very long downhill, as you've alluded to. Um, you the start at Smoke Hoe, you're basically two-thirds of the way up. You've only got
yes,
one-third of the way up to go, some undulations along the top, and then it's all downhill literally
all
to the
down.
finish, apart from that
Yes.
short bit at the end, which isn't purely flat either.
No,
Um,
no.
so,
Mm.
well, what part of that did you feel the strongest?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, probably along the tops. I I love along the tops and I love coming down into Moonlight and then heading out of Moonlight Hut and then around into the start of the Goblin Forest. That just I think it's the scenery there that even though it was plagued in, but just the bush and it's
That
just
would
so
have given it,
beautiful through there.
being clagged in would have made it more scenic with
Yeah,
the mist effectively in the trees, all the moss. Uh,
yeah, it's pretty
um,
magical.
I haven't been through there in those conditions, so but I
Lucky
can
you.
imagine what it would be like.
Yeah. No,
I've been through similar
it's so
locations.
beautiful.
Um, if that's where you felt the strongest, which, well, where was the toughest for you?
Yeah, that last 3K, I sort of felt I think it was because I didn't have anyone around me. There wasn't anyone like I'd been dropped from the people in front of me and there was no one coming through from behind me. And so I sort of just felt a bit like I knew I wasn't by myself, but I just felt a little bit lonely, I think, in the last 3K. And then I saw my family, and then that picked me up again for the last sort of 500 meters or so. Um,
Nice.
but yeah, it was, I just went through a bit of a moment where I was like, feeling like I wasn't moving very quickly. I'd lost everyone and just having a moment, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and those moments often appear when you're not with anyone. If you've got someone that you see every few corners because they're just up ahead, it
Yeah.
gives you that point of reference. But when you don't have that, especially in remote locations,
Yeah.
the feeling of isolation can be magnified.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, definitely was in that final stretch. I was ready to be finished. Yeah.
no. How was your nutrition and hydration strategy?
Yeah, yeah, good. Yeah. I again took on like I did at Tarawera, took on full bottles every time I went through an aid station. Um I Yeah, I was eating sort of every maybe like 40 minutes or so, but I probably wasn't as disciplined as I had been at Tarawera. Um I think when I get onto the downhill, I love downhill, and I'm consumed by what's going on around me, and I'm not thinking as much about eating as I normally am when I'm going uphill or on a flat. So yeah, I definitely wasn't as good as Tarawera, but yeah, I wasn't too bad.
Nice. In terms of the mental side of the game this time, how did you
Mm.
manage your mindset and focus during the event?
Um, Not too bad. Probably, yeah, not too bad aside from the last 3K that I talked about. I was trying to stick on people when people were around. Yeah. I think people made a big difference to that particular event. Um, my down moments were the ones where my mentally down moments were the ones where I didn't have anyone around for a wee while. There was times that there's a lot of people on the track, but there's times when I was maybe by myself for 20 or 30 minutes, not seeing anyone. And that was tough. But then you'd perk up when you saw someone again. So yeah.
Nice.
And there was
Uh,
people who weren't in the event who were like cycling or walking the track. So you were seeing those kind of people as well, and they were cheering everyone on. So yeah.
nice. In contrast to Tarawera, you're not having the vast number of competitors at
Mm.
the event, but I suppose it's not made up numbers wise, but the people tramping or riding the trail, you're seeing them, which you wouldn't have had through Tarawera.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So, what kept you motivated during those tough moments?
Finishing. Just wanting to get to the finish line in one piece, really. I would just think ahead. Yeah, it was an event that was a bit, a bit funny because it was, the middle event. It wasn't my primary, I wanted to do well at the Backyard Ultra. So it was thinking about that as well and thinking about not doing too much damage to myself and just treating it like a training run, I guess. Yeah.
Nice. And now thinking of the event and the overall concept, what went well?
What went well? Um, no real, oh, I don't know actually. I mean, finish finishing. I achieved my goal of finishing. That went well. But yeah, I wouldn't describe it as a highlights package, that
Yeah.
event. Yeah, no, it was, yeah, being kind of treated like a training run in the end. Yeah. So I finished. I guess I got out of it sort of what I kind of resigned myself to. Yeah.
And I suppose it's no real different from me doing the mountain run and coast to coast, knowing that I've got Challenge Wanaka a week later. I'm in a
Mm,
team that's not a competitive team, that's there to achieve the overall event. Um,
mm,
so my contribution, I didn't need to go all out. Admittedly, you didn't have teammates to, I'll say, let down by a poor performance. Not that I gave a poor performance. I gave
yes.
a consistent and moderated effort. And would that be a fair statement for your
Yes.
assault on Paparoa?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
What would you change or improve next time?
Um, I think I, if I, yeah, I think it would need to be an event in isolation if I wanted to um go and do it again. Like I loved it. It was well organized and it's obviously a beautiful course. And I really wanted to support the first event. But I wouldn't if I wanted to achieve, a good result at the Backyard Ultra in Hoki again, I wouldn't do Paparoa again, or vice versa. If I was, I'd make sure it was away from other events that I was planning if I wanted to, yeah, go back and tackle it. Yeah.
What did you learn about yourself as an athlete at Paparoa?
I learned that I could complete two ultras within a very short space of time. Yeah, it was quite amazing, and I learned that mentally, I can pull things across between races. Um, yeah, just taking even if I, have a poor last 4 week build up into a race. I don't need to if I put the hard yards in beforehand, I don't need to panic about my ability to finish a race. So I would, yeah, I learned I learned that I think if it's upstairs, then it's going to be okay.
Nice. So Paparoa, first time event, you said you were keen to support them being a first
Mm,
time event. A week later, another first time event. You're back on the West Coast for the
yeah.
Wild West Backyard Ultra. You've done Backyard Ultras before, 15 laps at Crazy K. And
Yes.
what was your goal? What was your plan for Wild West?
Um, for Wild for Wild West, before when I'd actually entered it, I was aiming for 24 loops, so 160K. I thought, I thought it was going to be ambitious, but I was quite keen to give it a nudge. I thought that, you know, I haven't done a miler before, so I thought maybe this would be the best format, maybe for me to be able to achieve that. So that was sort of what was going through my mind when I entered. Also, when I entered, Paparoa didn't exist at the time, I don't think, or certainly hadn't put it on the cards to enter it. So that was sort of the original kind of plan. After Tarawera and with my leg, I had thought 24 would be a very stretched goal. And then after I finished the days after Paparoa, I, you know, I couldn't sit down on the toilet without assistance. So I sort of had changed my goals to thinking, oh, if I could get through 7 or 8 and run the same distance as I had for Paparoa, then that would be a good achievement. So yeah, just the closer the event got, the the less loops I thought that I'd be physically capable of doing. Yeah.
Okay. So race morning now. What was
Yes.
the plan in your head?
Just one more loop. Just one more loop. And just when I did Crazy K's and I had done 15 loops and I went out on the 16th loop and I came back thinking I didn't have enough time to complete a loop. And I thought to myself, that was so stupid. You should have just gone out on the loop. And if you timed out, you timed out. But I didn't. I felt after that run that even though I'd achieved the goal, which was 15 loops, I sort of immediately felt gutted that I just hadn't come up with a quick plan B to keep going. So yeah, going into this one, I was like, no, you've just got to keep going. Just do not stop. And just if you're coming in and you've got time, just keep going. And it was just one more loop. I didn't want to set that same goal like I had at Crazies, because I thought, well, if I say I'm going to do 7 loops and I've finished my 7th loop, will I go out on the 8th, or you know what I mean? So it was just, my goal was just do one more loop and just see what you can do, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What unexpected challenges popped up during the backyard?
Unexpected challenges. I started not really feeling it after about the second or third loop. I wasn't expecting it to hit me so early on in the piece, but I also knew that each loop can be quite different, and we saw that with some of the other competitors later on in the race. One of the girls, she was really struggling on lap 29, and then she wins it on lap 33 or something, like that. It's
Yeah.
So a loop can be quite different.
Made
So
it back with
yeah,
seconds to spare, and then
yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I wasn't great on loops 2 and 3, but then yeah, so that was a bit unexpected that it happened so early. Mm.
when you consider particularly Paparoa the week before and what you've done in the last few weeks,
Mm.
it's impressive what you've achieved. And it's not surprising that there was some struggles early on, but
Mm.
your mental strength, your mental fortitude, as you've touched on as being the strength in both the previous events,
Mm.
shone through once again with your ability to keep pushing and moving forward.
Yeah.
In terms of your energy levels and muscular fatigue during the event, how did that go?
Yeah, I had quite a bit of tightness definitely throughout the race. I did a lot more, I lay on the ground a lot more and did a lot more stretching in between loops than I've done in my previous backyard ultra event. Um, so yeah, no, I definitely could feel the effects of having done Tarawera and Paparoa for sure. Yeah, it was just a bit, I was just a bit tight really all over the show. Yeah,
And once again, not unsurprising.
no, no.
What part of the race did you feel strongest?
Um, Loop 15 actually. I I sort of got into sort of loop 7 and 8, and I started, my mind started thinking, oh, you're actually quite close to 15. 15 loops, and hey, wouldn't it be good, if you could do better than the previous time. And yeah, so loop 15, I haven't actually looked at the times of how long it took each loop, but I on that loop I felt really good. I was like, I've got this, I'm going to get a PB here. So yeah, no, I felt good on that one. mm, yeah. And even the
Nice.
loops leading into 15, I think that, yeah, I sort of, I'd loop 9, 7, 8 or 9, I'd sort of thought, oh, you've run this far. You didn't think you were going to make it this far necessarily. And it's going all right. And yeah, why not try and get a PB? And yeah, no, it was that mental side of things kicking in over the physical side of things again. Yeah.
Yeah. Before we talk about the mental side of things, how was your nutrition and hydration strategy? How effective was that?
Yeah, that was pretty good. I was taking one 500 ml bottle out with me each loop. I had I probably did make a little bit of mistake. I started on the caffeinated stuff that I use, and I don't drink coffee or anything like that. So after a couple of loops, I was feeling like maybe yeah, wouldn't continue to last on that electrolyte. So I switched it up to a non-caffeinated one, and that was good. I had um I had not been feeling great in the 2 days leading up to it. I had an upset stomach. Um, so I my food wasn't great, but I was getting in the fluids. Um, yeah, I was in sort of one of those states where I couldn't really decide what I felt like eating. I had some apple and my normal like kind of go-tos while I was in the transition area, but they sort of weren't hitting the spot, and I was having to go to the toilet a bit more. Nothing was really kind of sitting right. So yeah, food wise probably wasn't the best in the early stages, but I was drinking, so I was pretty happy with that, and I was toileting, doing a wee pretty much after every loop, so I felt like I was getting good hydration in. Yeah.
Yeah. And case in point, you were into the bathroom or into the toilet and out very quickly and into the corral. But the thing is,
Hmm.
we were giving you that flask leaving the tent. That was half empty or almost empty. And I think after one of the laps, one of those early laps, you'd pretty much
Yes.
drunk it all in the corral before the start of the lap.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it was
So
you
I
were
think
getting
the
that.
next lap after that, I took out 2 bottles, and
That's
I
right. Yep.
finished both of those as well. I think or most of them. Um, and that actually made me feel a bit bloated and stuff. So I wasn't feeling, yeah, yeah, I didn't. I think that this was the patch where I was referring to earlier, where I was like, they weren't my best loops mentally, but they probably, aligned with they weren't my best loops physically either, the way I was feeling inside. So, yeah.
So bringing it back to the mental side of the event, how do you manage your mindset and focus?
I think like a backyard's quite interesting. I feel when I do one of them, like, you're starting on the hour with everybody, you are you're in first place until you're not in first place, so like from com a competitive side of things, when I'm never going to end up in first place, but like that really spurs me on. And also, um, you can see people dropping off. You get to know people throughout the day on various loops as well. It's really good to, you're having a good yarn. You feel like you're getting to know people, and then my competitive kind of nature kicks in as well, and you start seeing some of the females drop off, and you can kind of see yourself going up the field a little bit, and that's quite motivating for me as well.
Am I
So
correct
yeah,
that there were four females left when you dropped out?
yeah, I was four after I dropped out.
Yeah.
So yeah, to get into the top five was quite like, yeah, satisfying really. Yeah, so mentally there's a couple of aspects to it. The declining number of females, motivated me. Also, knowing that I ended up like later in the event motivating me to get to 15 loops, and then the 16th loop was probably my even though the 15th loop was probably the best I was physically, mentally the 16th was just so good because I was out on a PB loop. I wanted to finish, so to get the PB, because I knew if I didn't obviously finish the loop, I'd be equaling my previous one. So that was quite motivating mentally. Um, yeah, no, I was in a pretty good space throughout the whole kind of event. I think just that on the hour, every hour thing is just quite refreshing, being around everyone. Yeah, and the time sort of whittles by, doesn't it, when you're having a conversation with someone, or yeah, no, it's a great concept for an event.
Nice. Now, this has been the same question all three events.
Yeah.
Negative thoughts, how did you overcome them?
Um, I think with the backyard, it's kind of it, it's not just a individual thing, right? It's you're coming into the tent, your support crew's enthusiastic. You've got people out on course cheering you on. Um, you've got fellow competitors, cheering you on as well. So it's not. I don't find it too hard to get out of a dark place on a backyard, because there's just so much going on. That every loop's different, and every loop's new. Yeah,
Nice. And the course for the Wild West, it was really great in terms of you had that initial out and back, and then you're coming back through the event village, and then
yeah,
you looped round on the other side of the event village. And so people could watch competitors come past, or at the
yes,
start, watch them
yeah,
come past, walk 20 meters, watch them go past again. And
yes.
then I imagine the next part of the course got lonely out to the next turn. And then that route back when you're down through Wadeson Island, I imagine that bit got reasonably lonely unless you had someone running with you. Would that be a fair assessment?
Yeah, yeah, definitely great. Like the beachfront, there's so much going on in Hoki, um, just tourist wise, let alone supporters of the event. So having all that right at the start's really motivating to get out. Yeah, and then as you say, going around the back of sort of the event village and having the people being able to cross the road backwards and forwards, seeing people there, all along that top by the fish and chip shop and all the way along to the bridge is fine. And then when you come under the bridge and sort of pop out onto the stop bank, yeah, this was the hardest part for me, getting from the stop bank to the turnaround cone by Westland Milk Products. That was a bit long stretch without too many people. But then you sort of, you do have when you get to the bit where the other people go onto Wadestone Island,
Overlapping. Yep.
there's other runners around, so that's fine. And then I guess you get to Wadestone Island on the way back, and it's only that section of track's only 500 meters, and then it's only 1.2K to the end. So yeah, that wasn't too bad actually, because I sort of broke it down into like littler chunks. Um, but yeah, definitely along the stop bank to the turnaround cone was the long stretch, especially when the field started to thin down and you weren't seeing so many people. Yeah.
What keep you motivated during those tough moments?
Um, I guess like there's certain people that you are familiar with out on the course and you just want to beat them. um, so or do more loops than them. So that was my initial motivation until they dropped off. Yes, and they were probably my harder loops. So I think it was just that competitive nature that got me through those harder bits. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So reflecting on the backyard, what went
Mm.
well overall?
What went well overall? I think again, the mental side of things. There was times. Oh, there was actually times that I'd forgotten about where I was reflecting on Tarawera throughout, and I was thinking, it's not muddy. You did 17 hours at Tarawera. You know, you were going slow then. You go much faster now. So I think, yeah, so that was quite motivating. So I think that the what went well was drawing on that experience from Tarawera and using it to my advantage in the end when my body wasn't necessarily in top shape from previous weeks. But yeah, drawing on that mental strength from my previous experiences with the long distances. Mm.
Nice. And what would you change or improve next time round?
Um, so I went out on the 17th loop and I was obviously really happy that I'd done a PB. Um, but I kind of did the same thing that I did at Crazy K's. I had at that point set this thing in my mind that said, oh, yeah, just do such and such, get a PB. And then, that very next loop, I was like, oh, I've done a PB. I'm quite happy with how I'm going. I'm done. And it was a repeat of Crazy K's. So yeah, um and the support crew were fantastic and they were trying to get me to stay out there. And it wasn't that I couldn't do it. I was just in this place where I was just satisfied with what I'd done and I was quite happy. Um, and I didn't feel like at the time doing any more would um, gain me any more satisfaction, I guess, over the outcome. Um, but then what could I have done? you know, what, yeah, what was
So
I actually capable of?
a few things there. You PB'd, you're satisfied with your performance. You can't
Mm,
see a way of increasing that satisfaction. There's what better time to go out than out on a high, achieving all
mm,
that. So,
mm.
but it sounds like there's a little bit of regret in the back of your mind.
I don't know if it's regret, but yeah, no, I don't think it's regret, but I think it's just wanting to know what actually am I capable of? So it's more like a curiosity kind of thing
Yep.
than a
And
regret thing. Yeah.
you rewind all the way back to the initial goal that you set yourself prior
Yep.
to adding in everything else
Yeah,
into the
yeah.
season.
100%. Yeah.
Um, and I think if you're going into a backyard with that as the mindset, the miler as the mindset, the 24 hours as the mindset, I think with your mind, a lot of people, once they've done those 24 laps, that's them done. I think you're a
Mm.
25er, and then
Well,
that's
everyone stops at 24, don't they? So why wouldn't you go for 25, right?
exactly, but that's your how your mind operates.
Yeah.
Getting that one more, doing that a little bit better than last time. And
Yeah.
admittedly, it's a bit of a step um, from 17 to that, but
Yeah.
it's
Absolutely.
achievable for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I need to get a little bit faster to allow myself more time in my, like, yeah, to give myself more opportunity to go longer, I think. Yeah.
Yep. And having that aerobic base is going to be key for that. You can run the same time more comfortably, creating less fatigue.
Mm,
So that
mm,
requires less recovery in the time that you've got
mm,
available prior to the start of the next lap. It also means you can put in a slightly faster lap, giving you a bit more time if need be.
mm,
So I think your end of lap routine is pretty dialed in. You know when you need to get up, you need to go to the toilet before getting into the corral.
yeah.
We've seen that successfully at Crazy K, despite the crazy weather. We've seen that at
Mm.
Wild West, despite some, I'll say, mixed weather. We didn't have any tornadoes or anything destroy the event village.
No,
Um,
makes a change.
yeah, so yeah, you've got that side of it dialed down. The a little bit
Mm,
more aerobic fitness, and well, actually, I believe with your current level of fitness, you can do a 24-hour at a backyard. But
mm,
with slightly enhanced aerobic fitness, you'll do that more comfortably and have
yeah.
less questions mentally going into it.
Yeah, yeah, agree, agree. And I just, when I say satisfied, like I'm actually more than satisfied because, to do Tarawera, Paparoa, to be hobbling around like I was in that week, those weeks, and then to do, more than 100K at the Wild West Backyard Ultra. Yeah, I'm actually thrilled.
Yeah, no, you
Mm,
did fantastic. You've had a really great results across all three events.
mm,
Tarawera, where people were dropping out left, right, and centre due to the weather and environmental conditions. You pushed through some challenging conditions at Paparoa and then again at the backyard. You've had a
mm,
fantastic season. It's
mm.
time for a well-earned break
I'd say.
and get out on the netball court and really challenge those calves.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, no netball season and I'm already really excited about next next season and the ultras that are on offer. Not that I've entered any, but there's a lot available and that's exciting, isn't it? Like, yeah.
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 And we'll talk about that in a separate call. Um, have some time to refresh, have some time to let the mind go, well, I could go this way, I could go that way, I could go there
Yes.
and try and do faster than before, I could try and do more laps. There's so many options there for you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. And I think that miler distance is really starting to come into my mind now of yeah, what do I need to do to achieve that? So yeah, exciting times.
yeah. Before we wrap up, do you have any questions for me?
Oh, questions for you. No, I don't think so. Like not. I think, briefly touched on there about wanting to make sure I can get, faster for these loops. So I think that's probably um yeah, a key kind of focus. And also like I need to come up with a bit of a plan about how I can continue going on these loops without not talking myself out of them, but just yeah, how can I keep going out on the loops without just thinking to myself that I'm quite content in the moment? I am content in the moment, but how do I um, break through that just to keep going?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you're talking about once you've achieved your effective event goal, there's a minimum
yeah,
standard. You want to be able to push past that rather than
yeah,
get to that point and go, well, I've done that. Tick. Time to go
yeah,
home.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I want to get myself into a Sam Harvey mindset.
Yep. So
Yeah.
one of the, or in terms of my thoughts on this, one of the key things, and I often talk to people about their intrinsic goals, their goals that they can control, they can manipulate their performance. Going out, you're performing to achieve X. And if that X is 16 laps, once you've achieved that, as you said, there's no extra
Mm,
satisfaction achieved. But if you go out and say, I want to be top five woman, and you get 10 women do 30 laps, if you're not there doing those 30 laps beside them, there's no way
mm,
you'll get to the top five.
mm,
So it's more an outcome goal as opposed to a process goal.
mm. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
The downside with that is you can't control how the other women go. It might be that after 5 laps, you've won the women's section
Yeah.
and you don't even have an assist. Obviously, you still compete in the event and keep going until there's two of you left, as in two competitors, not two
Yes.
females. But that could backfire having that goal set or mindset
Mm,
approach to the event as well.
mm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's I don't know. It's getting something in your head that um yeah, is motivating regardless of where you're at in the because I sort of I know and I know I haven't got to 24 loops yet. Um, but I'm almost a bit worried that if I say went out and did the 24 or 25, um, that the same thing would kind of kick in then as well.
Yeah.
And yeah,
And the other
so
side to that is, so what? You've done your 25, you've achieved things. Be satisfied with your success
yeah.
and don't second guess yourself after.
Mm.
Keep that process.
How do I do that? Yeah, I don't know. It's that's not so that's just something that I probably carry, not just in running as well. You know, yeah. That's yeah. Definitely an aspect of my life in general. Probably I need to think about. I probably don't live in the moment enough, Ray.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, enjoy the off season.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
playing enjoy playing some netball.
Yes,
Look after those calves, warm up properly and stretch
thank you.
afterwards.
Yep, yep.
We don't
Sounds
want any
good.
calf injuries delaying any build-ups.
No, 100% not. No, and the sort of one that's probably higher on my list now is the Backyard Ultra in Nelson, and that's in September. So it's a first time event, which I'm quite keen to support. So, yeah, we'll make sure I'm, doing a good job over netball season to stay fit and strong and injury free.
Nice. All right, well, we'll wrap things up. Thanks for your time tonight, Steph. And I'll look forward to catching up in the not too distant future. Hopefully, I can get up to Nelson for one of the park runs and run with you for a little bit.
Sounds good. Love that. Bring the wifey too.
Yeah, I will.
Cool. Yeah, good.
I'll try to anyway.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Ray. Have a great
You're
evening.
welcome. Will
Bye.
do.